Welcome back to Crafting Some Ambience. If you're new, welcome. Please like and subscribe. In the meantime, prep my travel kit with me. Restrain me. I am horrendous at overpacking, and I did get some wonderful advice on Instagram from an artist who said, think about, as well as having something light enough and portable enough to carry, also think about how sometimes less things make you more creative. I've always fell into the trap of, if I don't have options, I won't be creative, because I'll have to stop myself doing things. But now when you think of it, that doesn't make any sense. So we've packed our reading book and our puzzle book, because if you're staying in a hotel, you need a reading book and a puzzle book. I'm going to Peterborough Cathedral to see Catherine of Aragon, so I've packed a Tudor history book about crime and punishment, because it's at least in the period. So I want to get my travel kit in the drawstring bag there, and I want it to fit in there. Remember that, people. This blue book, all will be revealed in a moment. It will all suddenly make sense. But it's an old journal book that I'd forgotten I'd bought and found it and thought, I have an idea for this, and all shall be revealed. So stick that into the purple backpack, which will not become a suitcase. It will remain a purple backpack. So I want to take watercolours with me. I've got a little pot and a little squirty bottle for water if I'm using it in the hotel to make my life easier, but I've got these water brushes for in the hotel, for out and about. I've got washi tape, whether I use it or not, I don't know, but it's only small. I got watercolour tube paints and filled those two sealable travel palettes. They're upside down right now. I won't carry them that way, I'll flip them, but I was just showing the colours. I will either use them of an evening in the hotel if I'm only going to sketch while I'm out, or if I feel like I'm going to be sat somewhere for long enough, I can take them with me. I put them into the palette in layers and let each layer dry before going to the other. Another artist taught me through how she does hers, and I'm so grateful. So they're going. That's going to be a mixing palette. It was just a cheap flimsy plastic one that weighs nothing. So they are definitely going. I did do them in rainbow colour order because I am obsessed with that. So I should maybe have done like a mixture in each palette, but I didn't. Watercolour pencils. These I got from W.H. Smith's years ago. Well, T.G. Jones is now, isn't it? But it was W.H. Smith when I got them. I've got a rubber and a HP pencil and a pencil sharpener as well. Just bog standard spiral pad of watercolour paper. These little postcard ones, and it's actually laid out on the back so that you can leave enough room for your stamp and things. And I might send a certain young lady one of those. I don't really think I'm gonna go overboard and take rulers and stencils with me, because we're supposed to be cutting down, supposed to be being restrained. So with taking the watercolour, I'm instantly going to whittle down the pens to my water resistant or waterproof pens. I'm going to whittle it down further and take a maximum of 3. So what I thought was, if I go thinner, thicker in the middle, so a 0.1, a 0.5 and a 0.3 for good luck in case anything happens. I tell you what, this accountability really does help, because I have steadfastly or stubbornly packed what we are choosing and put it away and stuck to it. And it's made being quite strict on myself, instead of ooh yes but I might, ooh yes but I might, a lot better. I was umming and ahhing about these acrylic paint pens, and I suppose, you know, they do earn the place because they've got 2 colours in each pen, but I think I'm just taking loads of things, and I can always add different layers of watercolour. I can always add watercolour pencils, like a coloured pencil. I can always take a photo, bring the painting home and add the acrylics later on. So I decided, in an absolute shocker of a moment, to not take the pens. See, packing with you guys really has been a game changer. So I have been quite ruthless, really. And the little water pot for if I paint in the hotel is a tiny little fish food thing, and you see the little water bottle spritzer, it's tiny weeny. And I promise you that my drawstring bag went into the purple rucksack and has not come out since. I have not put anything else in, because at one stage I'd even ummed and ahed about oil pastels, and I thought it's like a city break rather than somewhere where you'll be like sat for a while. You know, it needs to be portable and you can stand up and leave, and not, you know, have pastels or something all over your hands. And if I do see a view where I go, oh, I'd love to do this in oil pastel, take a photograph, bring it home. My nails were abominable, but we were packing in the middle of umpteen jobs and repairing the fence. So, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? And I think by this point I was sat just astounded by how well I'd actually done, because I thought it would have been a much bigger wrench to leave things at home. Because I am terrible. Not with clothes. I will take an outfit per day and I will stick to it. Art supplies. Oh my gosh. That's where my packing problem is. So we are hoping with these art supplies to be going to Peterborough, Cambridge and Ely in the southeast of the UK, and do some sketching, some watercolour, and have 4 days away where we breathe a little bit. And I will do my best filming wise on my phone while I'm there, and I shall take you with me, similar to how I did in New Brighton recently, because I think that would be a nice thing to do and share it with you. And for those who don't live in that area, or who haven't been before, it gives a taste of somewhere where you might want to go, or somewhere where you can't go but you might want to see. And this is what this channel's all about: creativity and enjoyment and joy and a sense of community, and sharing it with people. So I shall see you in a minute. The eagle-eyed amongst you might suddenly notice what the blue book was going to be all about. I thought it's a way to log where I'm going. It's a way to kind of record memories of where I'm going. And it's a place where if I do paintings or sketches, I could stick them in and keep them without having them here, there and everywhere, or finding a way to store them, etc. And I thought it might turn into a nice activity when I go to different places, either for a few days or a week, or if I go somewhere new and create and I can do things afterwards. I put it on the time lapse because I'll bet that a lot of you are very used to hand lettering and drawing and colouring and things. I've designed the spreads myself. I haven't copied anybody else's. I found filming this with my setup quite difficult and tricky because I'm right-handed and I kept sticking my hand and my arm in the way or having to reach over and try and keep things as neat as possible. So if things do get on everyone's nerves because I've gone out the lines or something for a second, it's because I'm trying to share it. And then we started with the planning stage, and I've gone further, but I will give you a flip through once we have been to each place. It's going to be exciting to see just how I use it. and I shall see you all soon. I'll see you in Peterborough. Come with me to Peterborough. I've been wanting to go to Peterborough for a while because in the cathedral is Queen Catherine of Aragon's resting place. And here is the outside of the cathedral, which I think is beautiful, and the font. I think that's a really interesting and intricate font. I enjoyed that. I loved seeing references to Edith Cavell, the nurse. Yeah, so that was fab. They had a collaboration exhibition with a dinosaur. There is also a fact sheet that they give you so you can learn loads more about the dinosaur, which I've put into my travel journal. It was suitably huge, and like a child I had to make it so it looked like it was going to eat me. Do love a lectern, you know, I'm a lectern enjoyer. And here are St. Oswald and his relics in his chapel, and some saints who were Saxon royalty in Mercia. Mary Queen of Scots was temporarily entombed at Peterborough Cathedral, and I did not know that. And we have been to Carlisle and Stirling recently, and that is a full circle historical moment. Damage from the Civil War. I found the carving so ornate, it was amazing. I really enjoyed seeing the header stone and how it's clearly well cared for and kept conserved over the years. Love stained glass. Do love a Gothic feature as well. Give me an arch or a domed ceiling. I had to film that chapel from a distance away because I don't like walking over people. Here is a fact sheet about Queen Catherine of Aragon, if you want to pause and read it. She is one of history's heroines to me. I'm not like one wife is more favourite than the other. I feel that Henry VIII wronged them and treated them as disposable, and they are human beings, and they all gave so much to the country. Here I am putting my pomegranate, my cross-stitch pomegranate tribute to Queen Catherine on her tomb. It was so moving. Do love a clock, and it was fascinating to see the mechanisms of the clock. Here's a schoolhouse where Edith Cavell studied and taught. She was a pupil teacher. Here is Bishop Rhodes Gardens. With a tribute to the first mayor of Peterborough and a cenotaph to soldiers from recent conflicts. Here is Peterborough Museum. I really enjoyed the mixture of history and archaeology, which are two of my passions, but also art and creativity in it as well. So there was artifacts, there was learning, there was paintings, there was part of a sketchbook and a process. Here is the graffiti exhibition. E.T. in a phone box with a spray can because he's phoning home. The Prodigy. I used to love The Prodigy, so that was good. A 1950s kitchen. A Victorian kitchen. We still had a mangle into the 80s. I remember that very well. That is a Roman mile marker stone. And about Edmund Artis. And the Castor Palace. It's always fascinating to see local history. That is a Roman mosaic with a backdrop and a Roman kitchen. Now, the first day in Cambridge, everything was shut. Or should I say, everything I wanted to go to was shut. So we did a lot of sightseeing. And we had a good mooch around the market and got some lemon sherbets, because why not? And we saw ducks in the market, and I do love ducks. And that is the Senate. And that is King's College. King's College again on King's Parade. The Corpus Clock with its locust. The Mathematical Bridge. Martin Luther and the Reformation was big in Cambridge as well. The Eagle pub is where Watson and Crick first announced the discovery of DNA science. And there is the Eagle. And then in the RAF bar, there's actual World War II graffiti by service personnel. And lots of memorabilia through all the different platoons and things that people come from. An old-fashioned car, gotta have a bit of ambience. A lot of the colleges have very ornate frontages. That was a fun bit of colour, walking through the shopping streets. Here's the Fitzwilliam Museum. Very ornate and very elaborate. Love me a mosaic. The ceramics are lovely. Italian ones there. That's a Canaletto painting of Venice. And I've been to Venice, so I do love. That's the Doge's Palace. More mosaics, because, you know, I love them. That's a Botolph painting of Venice. That is the Triumph of Death. Still life. I adore a still life, and those flowers were gorgeous. There was loads in that room, and they were all so beautifully done. Love myself a stormy sky and a moody waterfall. And landscape painting is definitely one of my most favourite genres. Do love me some ceramics. Our soldier embroidered that in the war. We're Knights of the Round Table. Gold coins that were found in Cambridge. Ceramic tiles. More still life. Eagle-eyed ones amongst you will see Cézanne's apples that I did on Mini Masterpiece Monday to the left. That's a Georges Seurat, bit of pointillism. Some more landscapes. That's a Renoir. And a Monet. Another Monet. I particularly like that one. I love the colours and the light. Those autumn trees are a Van Gogh. Constable. Do love myself a Constable. And, you know, a nice atmospheric painting. This is a David Hockney, and although the colours are a bit surreal, they are gorgeous. It was just so much art. These are the gardens in Peterhouse. Much thank you to my lovely Nin and her boyfriend for taking us around and giving a tour. The library actually has a museum in it. They are the Cambridge colleges on the dining hall window. Do love myself a big old tree. King's College Chapel from a distance because we weren't allowed in because we were too late. And that is the Alan Turing statue. That's the River Cam with punters. That's looking back over to King's College. I think I'll paint some of those views. That's the closest I got to the Bridge of Sighs because they wouldn't let me through. Ely. I loved Ely. Ely was my favourite out of all of them. Loved the architecture, loved the town. Everything was planned, super nice. The people were so polite. Trust me, the people in Cambridge were mostly not polite. The only people who were polite in Cambridge were people who were working. Oliver Cromwell's house with someone with Irish descent. Oliver was, well, naughty to say the least. St Mary's Church. The cathedral and a Tudor framed house. Do love myself some architectural ambience. The Russian cannon presented from the Crimean War by Queen Victoria to the city. That's the plaque as of why. There's the cathedral. Fascinating features. So many things to look at. There are the front doors to the cathedral. That ceiling was something else. It was amazing. There's a church bell from a nearby church that is now rehoused in Ely Cathedral. Do love myself some Gothic arches. And the Octagon Tower. Stained glass. We love stained glass. Look at that. Look at that dome ceiling. Look at the intricacy of that woodwork. It's amazing. Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, future King and Queen. I approve. That is a model of the Octagon Tower. There was St George's Chapel with the cenotaph. The names and dates and places are on those wooden boards. And then St Edmund's Chapel, who was England's patron saint before St George. Hence the name, Bury St Edmunds, because they buried St Edmund there. Do love some ornate masonry. Now, there were some mason's marks in a chapel to the back of the cathedral. That's Bomber Command window, by the way. That's fabulous at that cenotaph to Bomber Command. And the stone tomb canopy was thought to be a shrine for Saint Ethelreda, but it turns out it was for a bishop. And alongside the mason's marks, people have done graffiti, and I think that's horrendous. They are 14th century paintings in St Ethelreda's chapel. There is Saint Ethelreda, and that is a cenotaph in her chapel. And the east window, and Saxon relics, and some artistic license of knights and heraldry created later. And they showed you the peregrine chicks on a camera so you could see the three little babies waiting for the mum to bring the food. And the most ancient artifact in the cathedral. And the font. Now, up to the stained glass museum, and it is a very uneven and very windy staircase, so those with mobility issues or vertigo, etc., might not want to go up there. However, it is fabulous when you get up there if you enjoy stained glass, because it's through different times, and it's religious and non-religious, and it goes into the process of stained glass with miniatures. Loved these miniature workshops, fab. And it discussed designs and historical context, so it was super interesting, as well as super colourful. Do love a gargoyle. I am a gargoyle enjoyer. And there are stained glass from around the world as well. And me and my husband both said as we walked around, it was really good that some of these stained glass panels from churches that have, or buildings that are since no longer, it at least conserves that art and that historical record, and rather than, you know, it ended up getting smashed and put in a skip, you know. So it was really good. This is one of the kilns that they used to put the glass pieces in. Some of the designs were so intricate, and there was a difference between they told you about painted stained glass panels and pieces, and how some are a mixture. This was a design for a Tree of Life window. That's Tristan and Isolde. Reynard the Fox. This is the cathedral physic garden, so medicinal plants. This is round the back of the cathedral. There was a wedding that day, so I hope that the happy couple has a happy, healthy future. This is the dry garden on the way to the river, and there's the eel. And a fountain. Love a walk down a river. Love a willow tree. Some cracking floral baskets as well as you walk down. Lots of bird life. Quaint little barges. Very pretty indeed. Bit of history as you walk down. Love a plaque. The history of eels from Ely. And here I am painting a postcard to send to my daughter. So I took a picture of King's College on King's Parade in Cambridge and the massive horse chestnut tree. I really loved that tree. And it looked like a lovely photo, so I sketched it in pencil and then went over with, I keep forgetting whether they say water resistant or waterproof. I'm sure it's waterproof, from Jackson's Art, to go over the lines, which I will then allow the ink to dry, and I'll rub the pencil out, because once you paint watercolour over the pencil, it doesn't look nice. So I'd first sketched it with the pencil in case I wanted to change anything, and then that could be my guide. Sorry about the lighting, because it was stuck with it's like a plastic thing to put your camera on to film, but also with our room in the Travelodge at Orchard Park in Cambridge. Of course, they can only put the lights in the most advantageous positions for people to reside in that room for a few days. They can't think, oh, somebody might want to do a postcard from Cambridge on their YouTube channel, you know. So I had to, you got to be polite and realistic about these things. And although there is a shadow, we can still see. And then there's starting the buildings and the windows of King's College. And the outline of the horse chestnut tree. Then just which building it is, where it is, in case my daughter goes, what on earth is that? She won't. I'm just joking. I did send her a photo and said, when your postcard gets here, this is what it's meant to be. Here's the main building. I massively simplified that bit because not only was it very ornate, and in the end I think I could have just drowned it with detail, but also with it being around the lettering, I thought it's just going to end up a bit like a dog's dinner, and that's not what we're aiming for. So there's the main window. And another turret or tower. I don't mind that the line work is quite loose as well, because it is more meant to be like an urban sketch than a strict painting. Then there were 3 little tiny spires. I hadn't seen little tiny spires before, but that's what they were, with the crosses on. And they were just little details in the stonework that stood out. Windows and pillars. And now we've rubbed the pencil out and we've started with the sky, and I forgot to press the record button for the first few minutes because I am a silly goose. And we have to change hands and things quite a bit for the painting bit, because again, stuck on space and filming. You know, it would have been a lot easier if I wasn't filming as well, but I just thought it was something nice while I was away to share the process of with you. So I'm just lifting some of the sky off so that there's some clouds, there's some differentiation and tones in the sky. I've also filled the lettering in with more of that waterproof ink. I took those 2 travel palettes that we saw in the packing video, and they're the colours that I've used from. They were tube paints from a company from Etsy, and the travel palettes are from Just Add Water from Etsy, and they have a lovely seal. I put them in a Ziploc bag anyway for travelling, but the seal is super good. I've not had any issues. I'm starting the green of the tree, and I'm leaving some gaps because the horse chestnut had the white berries that will eventually, blossom, which will eventually go to the nuts, and then I've just splodged the college. I think I took too much from the graffiti in Peterborough and just splodged all over King's College. Just try and make that as subtle as possible. We get there in the end. We are on a very tight setup, aren't we? So, you know, splodges will happen. So I am just mixing a slightly darker green. I didn't go mad with the tone, just a little bit darker. And to darken it, I used more pigment and less water. And just trying to make it look a bit more leafy and textured in that layer. And then they had some opaque white in this set, so I did do a little bit to just make it look a bit more, rather than just a gap, instead of it looking like I'd just missed a bit. You know, that's okay sometimes, but with it being blossom, I don't know, I just felt like it added a little je ne sais quoi. I am fiddling and mixing just slightly off camera, hence why I keep knocking things. And I'm just doing a slight bit of yellow because there was a tiny bit of yellow, so it's a bigger tiny bit than it was in real life, but it does add that interest and that more of a, you know, that it's blossom on the tree rather than just an absence, kind of. And I'm not sure what colour I'm mixing there, but I'm quite industrious. It's me kind of like honey brown stone colour, because it wasn't like dark brown stone, but it wasn't grey either. So I'm just getting the base colour of the stone down. It did look quite smooth. It didn't really look like little diddy individual bricks of different colour. The stones were quite uniform, so I didn't go into drawing the lines between every single stone in, because I just thought I think it was going to detract from a small postcard size painting. It almost covered the green. Sorry about my ginormous giant hand in the way there. Filling in little gaps I'd missed. And next we are going to I was faffing with whatever I was mixing, wasn't I? Oh my gosh. Come on, Kerry. We haven't got all day. Hooray! She's back. Great for the windows and recesses. Trying not to disappear my writing. That also helped a lot with the green. I'm just lifting some of the grey that's gone where I don't want it to, because it was quite loose.
here's just a darker tone for any shadow, any lintels, just to give it a bit of tonal difference, bit of interest, bit of light and shadow, bit of depth. Just blotting that again to just lift some of that because I'd gone a bit far. Sorry about the focus going there, because my hand, when my hand goes in the way, it blurs the camera a little bit. Again though, it was very rudimentary filming, very needs must, wasn't it, you know. Yeah, dab that off, Kerry, don't just stick that on there. I was going to end up with my sky a different colour if I'd have put that much paint on there. Again, sorry for the blur. Just adding a little more definition to things. Using colour rather than adding and adding and adding lines. And then we're going to let that dry and just slightly spruce things up with the pen where it's gone a little bit wet. And then there's the original and there's the postcard, and it went for posting. Food and drink. We didn't have the variety that we wanted to while we were there. Things were a bit... because everybody was in places because a lot of places were shut. Okie dokie. Let's review this setup with me. Okie dokie. We packed my art kit together and let's review it together. So let's get things out. Now, first of all, did I use everything? Because if you're overpacking and you're not using things, you know, what's the point? I did use most things, surprisingly, and I thought I was going to rely on these out and about, but I didn't. I didn't use the watercolour pencils. So in future, I might only pack certain like colours of watercolour pencils, and maybe make this pencil case work for me more by having less room taken up by the pencils with fewer colours, and then maybe be able to put a few markers in or something, but keep it condensed. Yes, I used all 3 pens, so I quite enjoyed having the different thickness of line. So so I did enjoy that. I didn't actually use my bigger watercolour pad, but I think if the weather had been better, because it was cloudy sun and showers, so I think if the weather had been better and we'd have sat out more, I absolutely would use that size. I did use my postcards though. I sent one to my beloved daughter, and I used my mixing tray, I used the watercolours, and I used the brushes. So, all in all, I didn't massively overpack. Is the things that I would have liked to have had with me, maybe like say maybe a few markers to add a different medium, but not like, you know, over the top, you know, maybe a couple of greens or a couple of browns, you know, to kind of add detail later on to make it mixed media or something. But that is something now, you know, you could take some colours out of the watercolour pencils, put a couple of markers in, and that would be a-okay. Did I miss the acrylic marker pens? No. And I didn't miss the oil pastels either. I do think though that acrylic markers might be quite nice in future, but that would be with better weather. So all in all, I'd say I was strict on myself given how much I usually overpack, but at the same time I was indulgently strict, if there's such a thing. But I did use everything, more or less, and I enjoyed it, and it made a short city break creative. Between that and the travel journal, it added creativity every day, and it kept that practice, that art practice that a lot of professional and educated artists say, you know, it's about that daily practice getting going. So it did, it really helped do that. And with it being such a tiny little thing, most of the time when I was out, I just put the little pad and the pencil case with these bits in a little plastic bag in my tote bag and carried it around with me. So it was grab and go mostly. And then of an evening I used the watercolour to paint on it, and I think that's why I didn't use the watercolour pencils. So in future, I think if I've got watercolours to use later, I might not bother with the watercolour pencils, and I might just take a couple of markers actually while we're brainstorming. That would be nice. So all in all, really pleased. I am going to have a little look at travel kit setups. I've been watching a lot of really kind YouTubers who have given their time and expertise to the likes of me, and they have such great ideas. And I was chatting with one on Instagram who said, you know, about having less makes you more creative, not less. So I am, and I found that actually, because even there's the obvious in terms of you're thinking creatively because you've got a more restricted set of resources and you're creating with what you have. But there's also, I found, a simplified kit meant I got it out more, rather than thinking, oh, you know, where do I start, which bit am I going to use, you know, how am I going to set it all up. It was, you know, bish bash bosh, so to speak, you know.
You get it out, you do your drawing, you do your painting. It's all self-explanatory and easy to use. So I'm really keen on that. I really enjoy that. So I think what I'm going to work on, and I might do a video for you guys, is a like grab and go bag, and I'm going to make one of those drawing boards that you can put like your sketchbook and things on. I'm going to make one of those for like a pochade replacement, to bridge that gap where it doesn't need to be as simple as a grab and go, and you can let yourself have a little bit more, but you don't want to go full to your travel easel and a chair to sit at and da 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 da. So I have a few bits and pieces on order because I've found a board that I want to use, but I've ordered some magnets so that I can make things so that you can take them on and off and use them, and it's modular and it's adaptable. So we shall see. So I was gonna kind of make 3 setups: grab and go, pochade, in betweeny, and then luxurious travel easel, you know, and you're going to be there for a few hours and you can be a bit more, you know, indulgent with your resources. So we shall see. All in all though, I'd say 4 out of 5 for this packet. I'm into it, and I think accountability with you guys helped. Right, I have packed this. I've told people I'm only taking this. So I can't then in my video use this and XYZ. So yeah, thank you all so much, and I'll see you in a bit. So I am home after all that gallivanting. I had a wonderful time, and it was lovely exploring different places and seeing art and history that I'd never seen before because I'm not really going to that area very much. So I had a really, really wonderful time. I'm going to flip through my travel journal with you now to see how it ended up. It's the first time I've used a travel journal, so there are a few pages where I've gone over things, I've not been as happy about it, you know, but now for when I go on my big holiday of the year, I have evaluations to go from. So you had seen my setup as I drew it. So we have our front cover page, we have our little quote page and picture, we have the trips planned in May. At the moment it's just this one because we've got a lot going on for the next couple of weeks, so I doubt we'll be going on any other big trips. Then I've done some planning pages for each city where we wanted to go. I'd done it in heading areas so that as I was researching, it gave me like a structure to look things up. So like galleries and museums, anywhere else like landmarks, gardens, parks. I love seeing nature when we go around places. Local culture, anything for local food and drink, and like a miscellaneousness. So I did that for Cambridge and Peterborough and Ely. And then it was time to go. So we had a drive down. It was about it was almost 3.5 hours to Peterborough, and then obviously then from Peterborough to Cambridge where the hotel was. So it was mostly sunny, and we saw red kites and kestrels and rabbits, and we had a lovely scenic drive through quaint villages and countryside, and we visited Peterborough, its cathedral and its museums and its shops, and I ate an all-day breakfast for lunch as you do, and enjoyed a raspberry refresher drink. I bought a new fan which is non-battery operated. You wind it up because it saves me constantly flapping. And I enjoy being creative while I was there, and I shared my experiences with my daughter and my friends. And then in Peterborough I did kind of like a diary entry. I think next time I'll focus more on the art than on the writing, because I've got things that I've stuck in like scrapbook style that cover a lot of the facts and things that I'm writing down. So it does kind of repeat itself, but we went to the cathedral and to the museum, and we had lunch, and we went around the gardens, and we went around the city, and then we went to Cambridge. I covered my first spread with these because I wasn't happy with how it come out. But sometimes you know, sometimes what you're trying to draw pushes you a bit, and you're not quite ready yet, and you simplify your ideas. So the first day that we went to Cambridge, all the museums were shut and all the colleges wouldn't let you walk down to the river. So yeah, it was a absolute raging success. Not. But we did go and have a drink in the pub where Watson and Crick announced the discovery of DNA science, and we saw the RAF bar, and we went souvenir shopping, and I painted a postcard, which I've got a photograph of coming, so that I've got kind of like a record of what I've painted as well. And then we went to lovely Ely, and I loved Ely. I really, really loved Ely. It was fab. Gorgeous. When you kind of think of the quintessential gorgeous garden, river, lovely architecture kind of place, Ely's got it. And we saw baby peregrine falcon chicks at the cathedral. And we went to the stained glass museum, and I'm obsessed with stained glass. So we also went to the market, and Ely has a market like 3 days a week, and we went to this market and it was brilliant. We got some local honey, we got some spice mixes, and we got a purple clematis, potato, and 2 red crocosmia plants. We got some orange ones, but we haven't got red ones. And then we went back to Cambridge. We gave them another chance because we weren't exactly overwhelmed with, you know, positivity on the first day. Because I get that sometimes things have to be a certain way, but when you go to a city and you're only there for so long and absolutely everything is closed off to you and you're spending money to be there, it does, you know, on a personal level, it does annoy you a bit. So we went to the Fitzwilliam Museum, and the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, which made up for it. And we went on a tour of Peterhouse because my lovely Nin and her boyfriend took us round, and I got a chance to catch up with lovely Nin. And we saw Canada geese on a nest, and we had sharing plates for tea at the Golden Hind. And then the journey home was a bit mixed weather-wise, but it was only showers. It wasn't anything, you know, terrible. And
we saw kestrels, carrion crows and red kites. Red kites are my favourite bird, so I was very, very happy indeed. We had a cuppa and custard creams when we got in, because you know you have to, don't you? And we had pizza for tea, because we couldn't be bothered going doing a full weekly shop, so we just snuck in to the little local Asda before we went home. And then we watched rugby, and we saw our Red Roses win the Women's Six Nations, and we watched rugby league. And we did lots of laundry because we'd been away. Straight in, kettle on, washing machine on, boom. And I did some sketching and I did some reading. My favourite things. My favourite city was Ely. I loved going to the cathedrals. I got some lemon sherbets at Cambridge Market and the lady was lovely. And the lemon sherbets are also lovely. And I enjoyed lemonade. And I loved seeing flowers and gardens. And I loved seeing art. And I loved seeing stained glass. And I loved seeing my lovely Nin. And I loved Ely Market, where we got many a bargain. Now, there are some gaps because I've ordered photographs of snapfish and I've only ordered them this morning. However, if I wait for the photos to come, you won't get your video on Wednesday. So this is a work in progress, which I'll do a little update in a short so you can see the flip through properly. But the stained glass museum actually had bookmarks, so I'll put some of those in. And I've got photographs coming for the other ones. Bit for food and drink one. I didn't end up getting as much of a variety of food and drink as I normally would do when I'm away. But, you know, that's okay. You can't have everything. And then I learned things like that wombats poop in cube shapes. And that's true. Because I did fact check that in case I put it on my channel and it was wrong. Because I don't do dodgy facts. And that Peterhouse is the site of the oldest college in Cambridge, and its library houses a museum, and there is a modern art sculpture to honour Alan Turing at King's College. That's not exactly how it looked like, but it was me doing like a, you know, a sketchy guesstimate from memory later on. And I found that Ely Cathedral, instead of putting Cura on the ticket, puts Essential Companion, and I thought that was lovely, lovely language. You know, a bit more, because not everybody is like paid carer and disabled person, and even if they were, Essential Companion just sounds a bit nicer, like you go into the museum with somebody rather than, you know. But for me, given the fact that my carer was my husband, it was a lot nicer. It was nicer for him to be called an essential companion. You know, he felt it was more like informal. He also enjoyed being called essential, which he is. And I liked the fact that it was just nicer, more palatable language and more empowering for me. You know, essential companion rather than my husband is my carer. You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong, he absolutely is, and there's nothing wrong with having a carer. However, it is just nice when the language is worded a bit, you know, a bit nicer, a bit friendlier. So again, we've got some stained glass museum inspiration, but I've got some photographs coming to fill the other boxes. Again, with the museums, I've got some exhibits and things that I'll stick in. And we did go to a few. We didn't go to anywhere near as many as we wanted to and had planned, because we'd planned loads in Cambridge. But because of losing a day, you can't get to them all. So it is a shame. and it is a disappointment, but you know, onwards we move. And then the same with the galleries. I've got paintings and things coming to stick in. I got the little fact sheet from Ely Cathedral and put it in, because there's the map, but there's also like an explanation of certain features, but there's facts and a timeline as well, so that's really good to reread and look over, you know, and remember things you learned on the day. I did a little colouring in page from the Stained Glass Museum because I love colouring in. This is a bit creased, and it is the fact sheet that Peterborough Cathedral gave us for the Titanosaur exhibits, the dinosaur, which was very cool. And then this was, I thought, was really good. Peterborough Civic Society prints it out, and it's all the Peterborough blue plaques and where they are. But then when you get it home, you've got all this extra knowledge that can't fit on the blue plaque, because you can't, but absolutely, otherwise the blue plaque would cover the building. But you get to learn so much more, and it's all at your fingertips in one leaflet. You don't even, I mean, it's incredibly lazy because you don't even have to put it in a search engine, yeah. But I think that is a really excellent resource, taking you through local history, local culture, you know. I absolutely approve. Yeah, look, Thomas Beckerstein. Oh, there's a little I didn't even know there was a survey in there, and I'd stuck it in. That's very good. And at the moment, that's where we're up to with our flip through. So all in all, I did enjoy travel journaling, because I did think when I was starting to do it, I thought, is it going to become something when I get back to the hotel of an evening that is a nice, relaxing, creative activity, or is it going to be something where I'm thinking, you know, oh, what do I put in my journal? But it wasn't pressure. It was really nice, and I think I remembered more by consolidating it into the book. So I really enjoyed that. So all in all, quite a success. When I next go on a trip away, I will tweak how I approach it and how I lay it out. But all in all, a good start.